But in terms of the fight, man, Floyd looked like Floyd, just older. You know what I mean? Like, he understands how to handle the ring. He knew how to tire Logan out. It was just funny to me just how big Logan was compared to Floyd. But I
saw pictures. It was crazy.
But I've never seen Floyd that big either. Usually Floyd, when he fights, you know, he's lean, cut up, smooth, shaved, and he was out that thing just like, oh, I roll it out of bed. Let's go get it. So it like, you could see that if Floyd really was taking it serious, he probably would have knocked him down like a couple of times. Cause it was, I think, second or third round, he was catching him and he was just like, if Floyd really was trying to do something right here, like, this could probably be bad. Cause Logan was just so gassed. And that was the part that was funny to me. I'm like, ooh, you tired, you tired. But, you know, that's how it goes sometimes when you step in there with the greatest.
So that 5-6 second run of him just going back and forth was an outlier. Okay, so he was blocking all that. Yeah. Okay.
And he did it. It was like the last like 5 seconds, 7 seconds of the round. And he was already gassed in there. That's what made it funny. We was like, oh, so you got your little win. He threw them punches. And then after that, he was done the rest of the fight.
Was it worthwhile? Because I saw a lot of other people saying like, oh, this was a joke.
For me, I thought it was worthwhile because I went in with the mindset of it being an exhibition. You get people that come in with the mindset of this is a legit, oh, Floyd has his undefeated record on the line. Well, then, yeah, you're going to feel let down when you watch that fight. But if you go in with the mindset of this is a spectacle, this is a one-off pickup game, essentially. It has zero, you know, it doesn't hold any type of ground other than bragging rights. And it's more so just, I get to see one of my favorite fighters in the ring. And for YouTube, I'm sure it's a ton of YouTube people are like, hey, I get a chance to see one of my YouTube people in the ring. And I looked at it like that. So for me, that's why I enjoyed it. If you went in there with it being more serious than that, though, you could easily have been let down. Trust me. But shout out to Ocho Cinco. He was fighting as well, man.
I saw he got knocked down, but he ended up winning the fight.
He was kicked, bro. Ocho low-key was all right.
Okay.
The knockdown made it look bad because it happened at the end, but Ocho was straight, bro.
Okay.
He was straight.
Who was he fighting?
He was fighting a guy, Brian Maxwell, who is, let's see, he was 1-2 in MMA. He wasn't a part of the UFC, and then he was 0-3 in bare knuckle fighting. So he had some combat experience, but he's not a boxer.
Ocho's probably the underdog going into that, at least.
But it was cool to see like Ocho, like you could say Ocho took it serious. Ocho talked about his training. He would train with the Charlo brothers, right? Jamel and Jamal, right? Or Jamel and Jamal. So you could see how, all right, he didn't look like he was completely out of order. Low-key, if he trained, he might be all right, but he's older.
He's older, yeah.
He's older. That's the problem, man.
Do you think this is going to be a thing going forward?
Unfortunately, I feel like it will be. Because you obviously
just
got
random people fighting.
Well, you got Jake Paul about to fight Tyron Woodley. It was a former UFC champion for for years. We're getting that because.
So you're excited for that one?
I'm not, but I am. I'm excited because I want to see if Woodley can legit box to that extent, and it's good that he's going to get paid like that. But I'm not excited because for me, I value boxing, but this makes it more of a spectacle. But boxing needs a little bit of juice right now. But the thing that's crazy is UFC is the bigger sport, but because of how it's set up pay-wise, the fighters don't get any cake like that. Whereas the boxers, man, you step over there for one fight, man, they making millions. So, yeah.
That's what I was curious about. I wonder if there's going to be a breaking point. I wonder if this fight was potentially going to be the breaking point where people are just like, man, this has been cool. Like, this has been the new thing of YouTubers going against sometimes washed up athletes, retired boxers, retired MMA guys, whatever it is. I just don't know if there's going to be a point where it's just, I'm over this. Yeah. And I want to see real fighting, whether it's they revert way more back to UFC or maybe boxing. They need to piggyback off this and start promoting their stars a little bit for the next like 2 or 3 years, because I do think it's just going to be like, all right, I've seen amateur hour in a way. Yes. I want to see the real dudes go at it. And if I could connect with them some way, somehow, storyline, that'd be big for boxing. I don't know how they do that though.
Well, I will say this. When you look at how Showtime put money into like following them to lead up to the fight, now, granted, a lot of that content they put on like their demand channel on YouTube, but if they continue to do stuff like that, they could make these way bigger. I mean, that's the thing that I feel like they got to start doing a lot more. Like you just said, like if they start building them up,
putting the pro athletes,
that could definitely help them out in a big way. But in terms of do we think or do we want these to continue? I was looking in the chat. And A proposition has been made. Bad Itch says, I would box Deke on YouTube if it makes us money. Well, if watching Deke box Bad Itch is something that y'all would be interested in seeing, you know, we can accommodate said scenario. I know some people that have resources that we can make this happen.
He's not the first one to offer me.
You're
for
right.
A boxing match. I think it was Cole. I don't think it was Cole Fitzsimmons, but there's another dude, Cole, that follows us. This was a while. This was in like the middle of last season. He said I was ducking him.
Yeah. Yeah,
I can't do that,
dude. You got to piggyback off of it, man. He says, "Come on,
I like
Deke.
this type of stuff, like the marketing aspect. I think it's hilarious.
It will be dope for the pod.
I know, that's what I mean. It is funny where it's just like all of a sudden now, hey, I want to box you. Let's just fight and we'll put it on YouTube. And it gets a lot of attention.
Now, Austin says he doesn't know if he can handle all that taco meat in the ring, though. Because we do got a little bit of the taco meat showing today. Like,
I'd get smoked, man.
You sure? But you haven't even seen this guy.
I'm not a fighter like that. I don't think I've ever even taken a swing at anyone, honestly.
But you look like you could fight. You chug a beer, you'll shotgun a beer and hit somebody with a sucker punch. You know, just, fuck. I don't know what happens after that punch, but it looks like you at least got that in you, man.
Yeah, I've never been a fighter or anything, so it's just not my lane. It's not my lane. I see the value in it, though. Like, part of me, like, it piques my interest where it's like, yeah, we could kind of make that big. And then you fight someone. You fight like Cam Hayward or something. Check out.
We got 3 fights already lined up. So we have you versus, it was Donald, right? You versus Donald already. Dave says he'll take the winner, okay? And then Donald says after he fights you, he'll take me. He'll fight me next. So we got a whole card right there. Even though Rebel Your Prize says Deke looks a little nervous right now talking about fighting.
Yeah. I just don't think it'd be the best idea.
All right, but James also says nobody wants that big Deke energy. I feel like you stepping in the ring, full taco meat, full on mullet in the back, big.
I'm getting there. I could almost do it. I just need to fade the sides.
So I'm saying, man. And you know when you got that Brad Pitt going too?
Yeah.
Bro, they would go nuts over you. That's all I'm saying.
I agree. I'd be more apt for a golf 1v1 though.
Well, we're gonna get to that because we got some golf stuff.
It doesn't carry the same weight as a fight 1v1. I get it, but if someone would want to do a golf 1v1, I'd be up for that.
And even your other boy Cole, right? You know the Cole one to fight you. This is Cole Fitzsimmons. He says he'll box the other Cole for disrespecting you, Deke.
See, I'd like that. I'd like to watch that. Yeah,
bro. We have prelims. We got a main. All we need is like a women's card because I feel like this is the market with UFC. They always do this, and I love this. They always have like their guy cards, but they make sure they have the women fights because you get both sides, and it's always
some of those are the better fights.
Think about how many times we've said, man, like, yo, the women fight was better than the men fight. It wasn't even close. Now we just need. I know we got women followers in here because of the taco meat.
Sure.
But, you know, if they can hop in there as well, now we got the full card. Now we can go ahead and start promoting this thing, man. That's all I'm saying, Deke. We can really get into negotiation for terms.
Where's it at? Heinz Field?
I mean, it has to be Heinz Field, right?
Okay.
Or PNC Park, whichever way you want to go. Which scene are you looking for? That's the real question.
Probably Heinz. Fit more people in the stadium.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be standing room only anyways.
Yeah.
For you, absolutely. Oh, man. And shout out to Brent right here. Hey, Brent, man, major love. We definitely appreciate you. But Brent says he's really conflicted as a real boxing supporter. One hand, it's great that new eyes are on the art. On the other, these spectacles damage the integrity. Brent, I agree 100%. In the video that I'm going to be posting.
Catch 22.
Absolutely. In the video that I post, that I'm going to be posting after this episode today, I talk about that because for me, man, I grew up watching boxing way before I watched the UFC. You know, you think about your Evander Holyfields, your Roy Jones, your back when it was Pretty Boy Floyd, before he was Money Mayweather, it was Pretty Boy Floyd. Like growing up during that age, man, boxing was the biggest thing ever. It was better than going to see a movie. Like, man, the fights like it's always on HBO. You always see George Foreman. You always, you know, you have Jim Lampley. All these usual guys. You're just like, God, I love this. And now to see where it's like a championship fight can happen and no one's even tuning in, but people are tuned in to watch these YouTubers fight. Like, that's the part that's crazy.
I'm being straight up with you. I'm the exact opposite. Never really watched boxing growing up, but started watching some of these big time fights when it was first the Mayweather Pacquiao. And then I think the next one after that was the Mayweather McGregor.
Yeah.
And then I saw some of the heavyweight ones. Who was in that? Deontay Wilder and Fury.
Mm-hmm.
I seen a couple of those. And then some of these YouTube fights. Like outside of the MMA, like in terms of straight boxing, I've probably watched more of these like spectacle ones. It's probably 50-50, but my favorite one was Mayweather McGregor. I'm just gonna be straight up with you. That was really good.
To me, I think that was because that was the last legitimate exhibition before you crossed over into YouTubers, TikTokers, and that vibe. Because we know what McGregor at the time, McGregor was the king of UFC when he crossed over. That's what made the fight so big and why both of them made so much money. Mayweather had just got his 50th win, right? So now you're like, dang, we're gonna get Mayweather, and he's gonna be fighting against Conor McGregor here, he just came off his 49th win, So now you're like, oh, this is like significant, and it was still being viewed as a legitimate fight, if you remember that as well.
Yeah.
So the build up to it, you get the first cross promotion ever between UFC and boxing. Everything that went into that made it so massive. And then when you actually see the fight, it's like, no, it was legit. Like Conor won some rounds.
First 3 or 4, maybe.
If Conor was in better shape, he low key, it would have been interesting. I don't think he would have beat him, but it would have been interesting. Obviously, Floyd did what Floyd does, though, right? He's gonna let you get tired. Then after that, he's a surgeon out there. That's what he was doing to Logan. It was beautiful. But that's how Mayweather fights. But I think because that fight, it was still valid. You still had legit guys who do this, not I YouTube and I moonlight as a fighter for extra videos. Like, no, like this guy, he does this. So I think that's why that was probably the biggest of these. And I don't think we'll ever get back to that until we get back to having legitimate fighters in there or guys that aren't 40,
But I will say that is the positive spin. Like we were talking about this catch-22. I'm actually watching some of these boxing things. Otherwise, I wouldn't be. And and like you said, it's not like the top one facing the number 2, the number 3. It's these random ass amateur ones, but it's just you get around friends, someone ordered it, and it's like, hey, I know these people. Yeah, so it's this weird thing. But like I really actually the Mayweather McGregor one, I really like the Wilder and Fury ones though.
Yeah. But Wilder and Fury,
the one that they drew, drew,
yeah.
Yeah, those are probably my top 2 favorites. So if like somehow, I don't know how you could start blending all this together where the quality of fights can go up, but then just the hype and everything also stays the same or also even gets better.
Showtime tried to do it yesterday because the previous spectacle fights, and I don't even know how we got on this side. Like we got like a legit conversation going right now. You're good.
It was my fault because I was like, I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm kind of interested.
But with Showtime compared to how these other fights have been going, the promotion was different. So when we saw Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, it was with Triller. Triller is a social media platform, right? So they had that type of vibe. You saw Snoop Dogg, we saw Oscar De La Hoya. We know they were intoxicated, right? And that's what made it fun, but it appealed to that audience, right? With Showtime, though, they dressed it up a lot more. It was a lot more of a professional feel to it. Obviously, it was on, their Showtime pay-per-view, not an app or anything like that. So you could just see, like, they made it legit. And then even how they tried to balance the card out with Ocho Cinco fighting early, right? Spectacle fight. We know that Mayweather was the headliner, so he fights at the end. But then you have, what's his name? Jalen, no, not Jalen Hurd. It was Jarrett Hurd, who was Jarrett Hurd, excuse me, who was a former middleweight champion as well. He had 3 belts at one time, like 2 years ago. He was fighting as the co-main or the fight before, the co-main event. So you could see like that was a legitimate fight right there. So I'm like, okay, if they do more of that, where if you have one at the beginning and then one midway co-main or main, you can get away with it as long as you still have high quality fights on that card as well.
What do you think of these random results, though? Is it just always going to be draw unless there's a knockout?
Because it's an exhibition, and a lot of times for them to even get approved by the different boxing committees, like remember Tyson and Roy Jones.
I know Tyson definitely won.
But that was a part of them even being allowed to fight. It couldn't be a winner. It couldn't be considered a legitimate fight. It had to just be a exhibition. Was it? I don't even know how you say it. Just a show of skill without, hard results and stuff like that. So that's why that fight yesterday was going to be like that. Regardless, unless Floyd knocked him out, and they probably still would have just been like draw.
or like this is how it played out.
Right, but
the result, you take it how you want. Yeah,
like, that's how it would have been. So with that, that's what you get when you do these exhibitions. And like I said, as long as you communicate that, you know that, I'm fine.
Yeah, see, I didn't know that. So now I guess going back to what you
Yeah.
said, you had a certain expectation going in. Now when I see these, I'm guessing they're just going to end in draw unless someone knocks someone out.
Unless they say it's a legitimate fight. Now, if they say it's a fight that counts on your record, that's different. But for that one, yes, it was exhibition.
Okay.